Hello, all. Welcome to the What If series. With me, as always, is Hanstar. How are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good, Rob. I hope you're well,
I'm doing all right,
or as well as can be expected.
as well as can be expected. Yeah. So today we're gonna do a little bit of a think about what happens if Pearl Harbor doesn't happen. The rest of World War II plays out the same. So the Philippines are invaded. Uh, all that still happens. Just they don't attack Pearl. So that's the only thing that's going to change historically in this conversation. So the Japanese still invade the Philippines, they still invade the East Indies, but they don't attack Pearl Harbor. And in quick glance, it's like, well, they still attacked us. So what's the difference? The difference is, in my opinion, Pearl was the marshalling point. It wasn't that the Philippines were attacked. It wasn't that Wake Island was attacked. It wasn't that the East Indies were attacked. It was that there was an attack on home soil, Pearl Harbor. Without Pearl Harbor, I don't think they have the support they did historically. What do you think, Hon?
I agree. I think either A, they never would have joined the war at all, or B, if they did, there would have been some reason for them to join the war later, but it would be way down the line. And I don't even know then if they could be swayed into, joining the Allied coalition uh, for a fight in Europe. And like we were talking a little bit before this, they had basically already wrote the Philippines and stuff off anyway. They weren't really worried about that.
Yeah, I could see them, trying to defend the Philippines, and maybe sending the Pacific Fleet, because if Pearl Harbor doesn't happen, they still have the Pacific Fleet.
Yeah.
So then you go to, okay, we have the Pacific Fleet. We move across the ocean to attack. But the problem then lies, if the Philippines fall like it did historically, before the fleet can get there, and the problem becomes they don't have anywhere to repair the fleet.
Yeah.
And it plays into the Japanese hands, because the Japanese, they wanted a one big battle at sea, and then they'd have this, the superiority over the ocean. And in 45 or in 42, they could have had a big battle at sea and possibly won. I mean, it would have been close, but then the Japanese can repair their ships. The United States, it would be a little bit harder for them to do so. I mean, they could go to Australia or back to Pearl, but the Japanese, their shipyards are much closer, so they can just do whittling. Like as the Pacific Fleet is coming across, the plan was to whittle them down. So submarine attacks, aircraft attacks, etc., to whittle them down as they're crossing the Pacific, so that I believe the magic number was 7-3 odds in favor of the United States, or 7-5, something like that. There was a magic number that the Japanese needed the American fleet at to have a chance of winning.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if, let's say, they go to cross the Pacific and things start going badly right out of the gate, so the Philippines falls, Wake falls, everything else falls as it did historically, and the fleet takes damage like major damage, loses, let's say, the first encounter with the Japanese, with the isolationist mindset of the United States at the time, do they move to pull our boys out and get back here instead of, no, we're going to fight back with everything we've got? Does it become get our boys out and to hell with it? It's not worth dying for. Forget it. Or do they do what they did historically, which is to fight Japan to the bitter end?
Yeah, if Pearl doesn't happen, that's a tough one to kind of think, because and it would all depend on me how much they whittle the fleet down.
Yeah,
on the crossing, whether the U.S. Navy still feels like no matter what, we're going to throw everything at them that we can. And then you also have, voices from home.
Yeah.
If, sailors and start getting killed and we start losing ships and, or ships severely damaged, would they be willing, the American people be willing to see us push further and just battle to the last man, so to speak?
And then secondly, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, but the other thing that has to not happen for the United States not to join World War II is Dolphy doesn't declare war 3 days later.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. The United States doesn't declare war on Germany. Germany declares war on the United States, which welcomes them into the Western battle. But if Pearl doesn't happen and Dolphy doesn't declare war because he wouldn't have a reason to, well, I guess maybe he would declare war after the Philippines were invaded. Yeah. But even still, I think he only declared war because, one, he was, allied with the Japanese, and two, it looked like they had dealt a major blow to the United States with the Pacific Fleet being bye-bye. For the most part. So I don't know if he would have done the historical calls to arms and declaring of war, which is actually funny because the United States has a distinction in World War II. It is one of the only countries that Dolphy actually declared war on.
He didn't just show up and hey,
he didn't just show up.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah. He actually declared war.
Are you at home?
Yeah. The United States has the distinction of being one of the very few countries he actually declared war on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot simpler, Rob. If you just declare war by when people see their tanks go by your house and stuff like that, or airplanes,
they get the message.
Yeah, it's just too much red tape. You got to send a letter and put it in the post.
War is just
Dolphy didn't really want to sit down
in the mail.
He didn't want to sit down at a typewriter and type it out.
It's a pain in the ass. We'll just send tanks and that'll tell you.
Yeah.
But no. So, if those, because I think if Pearl doesn't happen, the declaration of war from Germany doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, I don't see the Americans having the ambition to go into the European war. So I don't see Roosevelt being able to declare war on Germany.
Yeah, he wouldn't get enough of support to be able to.
It would be, well, if we're going to fight anybody, it's going to be the Japanese.
Yeah. And I think if right out of the gate, we're dealt a super horrible blow by the Japanese that really damages the Pacific Fleet, I almost feel like they would just turn around and head back to Pearl and be like, sorry, Philippines.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Maybe fall back to Australia in the defensive.
Yeah. Keep the Navy out there basically okay, you all have all that crap. You can have that.
Yeah,
But
but
if
if
you
you're
try to
coming
come
in
this
here,
way,
yeah, then battle lines are drawn, type
yeah,
of thing.
it's almost like trench warfare at sea.
Yeah,
We're gonna dig in over here. You guys can dig in over there, but just don't try to come over here.
yeah, you come over here and it's a different story. But
Yeah,
but I because Pearl Harbor really galvanized the American people. When Pearl
yeah,
Harbor happens, because if you go even a week before Pearl, nobody wanted a war. Nobody wanted to be in the European war. Well, not I can't say nobody, but the majority didn't want to be in the European theater. And they also didn't really see a point in fighting the Japanese either.
yeah.
There wasn't overwhelming support. That overwhelming support doesn't happen until Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is the galvanizing position.
Yeah, because in Pearl Harbor, I mean, as we know, it woke the American people up in a stupor, like because we just thought there's no way anybody can reach us.
Yeah,
That's kind of where the whole isolationist thing came from. And oh, we see what's going on in Europe and other places of the world, but hell, we're way over here.
yeah,
Nobody's going to come over here and mess with us.
yeah. So I don't know, and I don't think the entire Pacific Fleet would be sent right out of the gate.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they would have kept some in reserves.
I mean, there were plans for the. I mean, originally that was the plan. They would send the Pacific Fleet to defend the Philippines, and the Japanese knew that and were waiting for that.
Yeah,
But they decided to preempt it and take them out in harbor,
yeah,
hence Pearl Harbor.
yeah. They
But
with a surprise attack, they had
yeah,
there was even a better chance that they wouldn't lose assets, taking
yeah,
our assets away.
yeah,
Instead of waiting for them to do it on the possible crossing to the Philippines, where there's a chance in a battle they don't win,
that's right.
they figured we're just going to sneak into your bedroom while you're asleep, Rob, and I'm going to hit you with a baseball bat in the face.
Exactly. That was the thought. The problem is it galvanized the American people.
And
It gave them a war cry. It gave
yeah,
them something to fight for.
and I just don't see any other thing that we know historically happened in World War II that would push the American people to want to join the European battlefield. I just
No.
don't. I mean, I just don't see any. Now Lend-Lease helping them out and all that good stuff. Maybe escorting ship convoys because of the U-boats. Like you said, maybe running to try to get the Philippines back, and if you can't, pull back more towards Pearl and Australia possibly, and basically just setting up a line of defense. But I just can't think of anything that would have dealt a blow that would have been bad enough to be like Pearl Harbor that would have rallied the whole country.
Yeah.
I just can't think of anything.
No, because before Pearl, you had a major divide in people that were like, yeah, we should be in the European theater. And then there's the majority, which is hell no.
Yeah.
And then there are some people that are like, well, we should be attacking the Japanese because of what they're doing in China. And then you've got the majority going, no, that's not our problem.
Yeah.
We've done that before. Remember World War I? Yeah, no, not again. So, but Pearl changed all that because it was an attack on American soil. And it was something that they could use to galvanize the American people. And all the naysayers turned their vote within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't see the fall of the Philippines doing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't
I just don't. I don't see the fall of Wake Island. Most people don't even know where Wake Island is now. Never mind then. I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah, I think they would have. They may have went to get the Philippines back. May not. I could see them at least, like you were saying, send the Pacific Fleet out to kind of give the message to, okay, you've went far enough, Japan.
Yeah.
If you want to go any farther than that, then you have to go through us. As long as you leave us alone, we're going to leave you alone. Go do whatever you want to over there. Just don't come past this point,
Yeah.
or we're going to have a problem.
Or we're going to have a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I mean, what's happening in Europe is horrible, but the American people, like we were saying with the isolationist mindset of that time, I feel like the thoughts of the country are going to stay the same as they were before Pearl Harbor if there's no Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, historically, Russia didn't even declare war on Japan until late 44 ish. They weren't involved with the Japanese. I mean, there was defensive positions in case the Japanese decided to come north into Russia.
Yeah.
But they weren't actively attacking the Japanese until 45. So, and the Japanese didn't attack Russia ever. I just don't see it being so. The idea of, okay, well, we're mad at these people, but we're not involved in this. It historically happened. I mean, the Soviet Union was allied with, well, actually, they were the Japanese were allied with Germany when Barbarossa happened, and the Japanese could have attacked from the other side into Russia at the same time, and they never did. Stalin had troops ready for them if they did, but they never did.
Which, I mean, it could have been possibly a very good strategic move if Barbarossa happens at the same time the Japanese mount an attack from the other way.
Yeah.
As far as stretching out, men and equipment.
Yeah.
Forcing Russia to fight on two fronts.
Well, and the other similarity is Russia and Japan fought similarly. The old, fight to the last man, never give up ground.
No retreat.
Never give up. So it would have been freaking bloody.
It would have been horrible.
It would have been a bloodbath.
Oh, yeah.
The few skirmishes that the Russians and the Japanese did have was a bloodbath.
Yeah, you have two psycho mindset militaries, for lack of a better way to say it, going head to head. It's not going to be good. It's
not going to be pretty.
Not that any war is pretty, but it would have been very, very, very bad.
Yeah,
even compared to like the other battles going on in the European theater.
I mean, the Germans and the Russians had some pretty knockdown, drag out fights as it was. But to think of the Japanese versus the Russians would have been a little. I mean, the Russians would have had superiority in armor because the Japanese were not known for their tanks. I'm sorry, they just weren't.
Yeah, they weren't.
But they were known for their airplanes.
And they had a lot of them.
And they had a lot of them.
That's one thing they did have a lot of is
not near the end of the war, but at the beginning.
At the beginning, though, they had a very sizable air force.
Yes, they did. So just to kind of bring this back to where we started, if Pearl doesn't happen, I don't think the United States enters World War II. And if they do, it's just with the Japanese.
And even that, I think, would be limited.
Yeah. It would depend on how the battles went.
If it started to get bloody, I think it would have been limited anyway. But if it started to get bloody, I think we would have pulled back.
Yeah.
And just
because they wouldn't have the support at home that they did historically.
And just kept a defensive stance in the Pacific.
Yeah.
And that would have been it. We would have basically left the Japanese alone to do whatever they wanted to do over there as long as they didn't screw with us.
Yeah. I think so too. All right. So with that, I hope that this has, got people thinking, and maybe you have a different opinion. If so, drop it in the comments. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that if Pearl doesn't happen, World War II does not look the same.
Yeah.
But with that, I'll let you promote your channels, and we'll get out of here.
Everybody, I'm Honstar, youtube.com/Honstar. You can find me on my channel. You can also find me here with Rob doing these What If videos. You can also find me on It's JJ's, aka Sith Lord 3827, as a lot of you still know him as, on his weekly random movie review that's on Wednesday nights, where he and Slasher McSplitter pick a random movie and we all get together and have a watch party and watch the movie right before we do the stream. And then we do like a little critique and everybody gives their opinion on the movie and yada, yada, yada.
Cool. All right. And with me, as you all know, karaoke Saturdays. I have the every Monday on History with R&R, we have the live stream. I try to get a round table out. I think I'm moving it to every second week now, just because doing it every week is starting to task me. But I want to keep that series around. What If series usually lands on a Friday or a Saturday. And then also Mary's Game Room, which is my better half, has a stream coming up on November the 19th through the 20th. She's doing her 24-hour live stream for Extra Life. So if you can drop in during those times, I think there's 6 streams all in total that'll total a 24-hour time span. So that should be a lot of fun. And till next time, take her easy, folks.